The night was silent over Earth. The sky was calm, the stars shining like cold fire, but something strange was coming. It began far away, in the dark emptiness between galaxies, where a powerful alien empire had gathered its fleet. They were called the Valens, and they were proud, cruel, and confident.
Ow.
For hundreds of years they had destroyed weaker worlds and taken their resources. Loath to them, Earth was only another small target. The Valens had studied humans from a distance, saw our cities, our weapons, our endless wars with each other. To them, humans looked weak and divided. They believed Earth would fall in days. They did not fear humans. They only feared wasting time, so the Valens built a weapony wormhole generator. It could tear open space itself, making a doorway between worlds. With it, they would open a path directly into Earth's skies, and their fleet would pour through like a storm. The generals of the Valens laughed as they imagined how quickly humans would surrender, but the universe has strange rules, and pride always has a price. When the machine activated, a great tear split open above Earth. In the quiet night, over the Pacific Ocean, the sky itself opened like broken glass. A glowing wound stretched wide, pulsing with blue and red light. People on ships looked up in terror. Satellites caught strange readings. Cameras on Earth recorded the event, and within minutes, videos spread across the internet. At first, humans thought it was some natural disaster or a test of a secret weapon. But when the first alien ships came through, shaped like knives of black metal, everyone knew it was real. Earth was under attack. The Valens entered with confidence. Their ships hovered in formation, scanning the planet. Their leaders prepared, their message of domination. But something unexpected happened. The wormhole they opened was not stable. The tier in space twisted and shook like an angry storm. The aliens did not notice at first, but the humans did. Scientists on Earth began studying the wormhole within minutes, sharing data with each other across countries. The Valens had conquered. Humans were fast at connecting, fast at reacting, fast at adapting. Down below, people were frightened, but also curious. Military radars tracked the alien fleet. Fighter jets scrambled. Nuclear submarines rose closer. To the surface, leaders called emergency meetings, and the world that had always fought itself suddenly had one enemy. The aliens did not expect unity. They did not expect humans to work together. As the first hour passed, something stranger happened. The wormhole began pulling at the alien fleet. A strange gravity, a hidden force, tugged at their ships. The Valens grew nervous. They tried to stabilize the wormhole with their machines, but the more they fought, the worse it became. One small ship was dragged screaming into the light, vanishing into another dimension. The rest of the fleet held position, but fear began to whisper among the crew. On Earth, humans watched this unfold. News channels ran live coverage. Scientists gave interviews speaking about wormhole theory, about unstable space-time. People were afraid, yes, but also fascinated. For the first time in history, humanity was united in a single story. Meanwhile, deep in the alien command ship, their leader, Admiral Sarak, grew angry. He had promised his empire an easy victory. He had told his people that humans would kneel. But already things were going wrong. "These creatures are nothing," he growled. "Close the wormhole after we secure our position. Do not let this weakness show." But it was too late. The weakness was already there. Humans were not like the other worlds the Valens had conquered. Humans were unpredictable. They were clever. They were stubborn. And now, as nations shared their weapons, their intelligence, and their courage, the aliens had made a mistake. They had given humans a common enemy. Above the Pacific, the wormhole grew brighter, wider, louder. The sound shook the air, like thunder rolling from the heavens. Fishermen covered their ears. Pilots felt their planes shudder. The aliens tried to keep control, but their technology was failing, and down below, in hidden bases and secret labs, human minds were racing. If the aliens could open a wormhole, perhaps humans could learn from it. If the aliens could be pulled inside, perhaps humans could turn the enemy's weapon against them. No one knew yet how the war would go. No one knew what horrors or wonders the wormhole would bring. But in that first night, when the sky tore open, something ancient awoke in humanity. It was not fear. It was the old fire of survival, the same fire that had carried humans through. Every storm, every war, every trial, the aliens thought humans were weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The wormhole roared like a living beast, and the war for Earth had begun. The wormhole burned in the night sky like a wound that would not close. Its colors twisted and changed blue one moment, red, the next, then flashing with strange green light. The ocean below reflected its glow, waves shining like liquid fire. Ships on the surface trembled as the waters grew restless. From the tier in the heavens, more alien ships came through. They were sleek, black, sharp like blades. Their surfaces glimmered with alien symbols that no human could read. The fleet spread out in silence, moving as if guided by one mind. Their weapons glowed faintly, a warning of the destruction they carried. The people on Earth watched with terror. Round the world, millions stared at their screens, seeing the strange ships hovering above the Pacific. Some cried, some prayed, others clenched their fists. The internet filled with fear and questions. Are they here to destroy us? Can our armies fight them? What do they want? High above the Earth, in the alien flagship, Admiral Serac stood before a glowing display. His red eyes narrowed. As he studied the planet, to him, Earth was small, unorganized, and weak. Yet the wormhole's instability annoyed him. Hold the gate steady, he ordered his engineers. I will not allow this mission to appear weak. His crew obeyed, but whispers of doubt spread among them. Already they had lost one scout ship. Into the wormhole's violent pull, the readings were unstable, chaotic, dangerous, was not what they had planned. On Earth, governments rushed into emergency meetings. Leaders who usually argued now spoke with urgency. In bunkers and war rooms and in secret command centers, generals gave orders. Fighter jets were armed. Naval fleets were redirected toward the Pacific. Nuclear weapons were unlocked from their safes, but there was also unity. For the first time, nations that once distrusted each other began sharing intelligence. Satellite images were passed instantly from one country to another. Scientists exchanged data across borders, analyzing the wormhole's strange energy. Usually took years of cooperation, now happened in hours. Humanity was afraid, but also united. At the edge of the Pacific, an aircraft carrier launched its fighters. Pilots flew upward, engines roaring, their hearts pounding. They had no idea what they were flying into. The alien fleet loomed above them like giants from another world. Radar screens filled with strange signals, unlike anything humans had ever seen. The aliens watched the approaching jets with cold amusement. To them, these small metal machines were like insects. Admiral Serac ordered no weapons to fire yet. He wanted to display power first. He wanted the humans to understand they had no chance. The first jets reached the alien ships. The pilots stared in awe and fear at the massive structures above. They sent live feeds back to command, showing the world the enemy. The alien ships were silent, unmoving, almost like predators waiting for prey. Then, without warning, one of the alien ships powered up. A beam of blue light shot downward. It cut through the sky like lightning, striking the ocean. A tower of steam and fire exploded upward, waves rising as high as buildings. The fighter pilots swerved wildly to avoid the blast. The message was clear. The aliens wanted Earth to know who held power, but something unexpected happened. The wormhole reacted violently to the alien weapons energy. The tier in space twisted, pulsed, and then released a shockwave. It hit the alien fleet, shaking their ships. Several broke formation. Another small ship was dragged toward the center of the wormhole, screaming as its systems failed. On Earth, scientists noticed immediately. The wormhole is unstable, they shouted in labs and command centers. Every time they use energy, it reacts. They can't control it. This discovery spread fast. Commanders saw opportunity. If their own weapon weakens them, then maybe we have a chance, one general whispered. Meanwhile, civilians around the world felt something strange. Yes, they were afraid. But they also felt hope. The aliens were powerful, but not invincible. Inside, the flagship Admiral Sarek slammed his clawed hand against the control panel. He could not believe what he was seeing. His great fleet, his flawless plan, was showing cracks. His pride burned hotter than his fear. "Stabilize the gate," he roared. "Do not let the humans see weakness." But it was too late. The humans had already seen it that night. As the wormhole groaned and shook, humanity understood something important. The aliens were strong, but they had made a mistake. They thought humans were simple, weak, and divided. But humans had something no alien empire had ever faced before: creativity, stubbornness, and the ability to turn fear into unity. The first clash had begun. The war for Earth was no longer just a story in the stars. It was real, and it was happening now. And as the wormhole screamed across the sky, both humans and aliens began to realize a terrible truth. The gate they had opened did not belong to either of them. Something else was waiting inside. Something old. Something dangerous. The wormhole boiled like a storm in the heavens. Lightning rippled across its edge, and strange sounds rolled down through the clouds like whispers carried on thunder. The ocean shook with every pulse of its energy. Ships rocked as if caught in a storm, though the skies were clear except for the glowing wound above. The alien fleet tried to hold position, but the wormhole dragged at them with invisible hands. Smaller ships trembled and drifted out of formation. Their engines screamed as they fought against the pull. Some vanished into the spinning light, gone without a trace. Panic spread quietly among the lower ranks of the Valens. On the flagship, Admiral Sarek stood rigid. His pride was a cage that kept his fear locked inside. "Ignore the losses," he growled. "This planet will kneel. Deploy ground teams. Show them our strength." Obeying his command, transport ships broke away from the fleet. They glided down through the clouds like dark arrows. Each carried squads of alien soldiers, tall and armored, their weapons glowing with a deadly blue light. They were bred for war, taught only obedience and conquest. On Earth, alarms rang across military bases. Radars lit up with the descending ships. Fighter pilots were ordered to intercept. But the alien transports moved with speed beyond anything human machines could match. In less than minutes, they pierced through the atmosphere, streaks of fire trailing behind them. They landed on islands. Across the Pacific, small fishing villages shook as alien boots crushed the sand. Soldiers marched out, scanning the area with red eyes. Their language was harsh and metallic, but their intent was clear: they were here to conquer. Civilians screamed and ran. Some tried to fight with rifles, with knives, with whatever they had, but the alien weapons were too strong. A single blast from their rifles turned boats into burning wrecks. Wooden homes exploded into flames. Panic spread, but the world was watching. Drones, satellites, and even cell phone cameras caught the landings. The footage streamed online, spreading across the globe. Humanity saw the invaders clearly now: their tall, armored bodies, their cruel machines, their glowing weapons. And with that sight, something changed. Fear was no longer enough. Anger began to rise. In military command centers, leaders gave the order: engage. Within minutes, human forces struck back. Jets screamed over the islands, dropping missiles. Battleships fired from the ocean, their cannons booming like thunder. Soldiers parachuted in, carrying rifles and rockets. The first true clash between humanity and the aliens began. The aliens fought with brutal efficiency. Their weapons cut down human squads with blinding blasts. Tanks melted under their fire. The ground burned where their energy touched. But humans were different. They adapted quickly. They moved in small groups, using the terrain. They set ambushes, attacked from cover, and used sheer numbers to press forward. When one soldier fell, another picked up the weapon and kept fighting. The battle was chaos, but the humans did not break. Above, the wormhole continued to twist. Energy flared again, shaking the sky. A shockwave rippled outward, knocking both alien and human fighters. From the air, 2 alien ships spun out of control and crashed into the ocean. Fire and metal sinking into the deep. From the wreckage of one fallen ship, human divers later pulled out strange fragments. metal that bent and shifted as if alive, glowing shards that hummed like they had a heartbeat. Scientists who studied the pieces whispered in awe, "This is beyond anything we've seen, but maybe we can use it." In the chaos of war, humanity was already learning. On the ground, one alien commander raised his weapon high, signaling his troops to advance. But before they could fire, a group of human soldiers launched rockets from hidden cliffs. The blast tore through the alien ranks, throwing their machines into flames. The commander fell, his armor cracked open, his black blood soaking the sand. The humans cheered not just for the victory, but for the proof that the aliens could bleed, and if they could bleed, they could die. Back on the flagship, Admiral Sarek watched the reports with cold fury. "Impossible," he hissed. "Primitive creatures cannot resist us." But the truth was clear on his screens. His soldiers were facing more resistance than they had expected. Losses were small, but the humans fought with a ferocity that unsettled even his hardened warriors. And worse, the wormhole was growing unstable. His engineers warned him that something stirred inside it, something older and darker than their machines could measure. Sarek silenced them with a glare. He refused to believe that anything could threaten the Valen Empire. But down on Earth, a secret bunker filled with screens and scientists, a chilling discovery was made. The wormhole was not just a gate the aliens had opened. It was alive. In some way, a structure of space that reacted to energy, to violence, to fear itself. And it was growing stronger with every passing hour. The aliens thought they had come to conquer humanity. They had no idea what else they had awakened. The battles across the Pacific raged through the night. Smoke rose from burning villages. The sea glowed with the wreckage of ships, both human and alien. The air carried the sound of gunfire, explosions, and the strange buzzing of alien energy weapons. Humanity had taken its first real wounds, but it had also proven it could fight back. In command centers deep underground, human leaders gathered around glowing screens. Generals shouted orders. Scientists pored over the strange fragments recovered from the downed alien ship. The metal twisted like it was alive, humming with a soft pulse. It did not obey the laws of Earth's physics. Every test revealed something new, something terrifying, and something useful. "Look at this," one scientist whispered. "It's adapting. It learns when we test it. If we can understand even a fraction of this, we can turn their own technology against them." But time was short. The wormhole in the sky was growing worse. Its edges spun faster, lightning flashing across the clouds. The colors deepened into strange, sickly shades of green and purple. Satellites orbiting near it reported impossible readings energy, levels far higher than what the aliens' machines should have created. The tier was not closing, it was widening. On the alien flagship, Admiral Sarek listened to his engineers with growing anger. "The gate was only meant to stay open for controlled use," one stammered. "But it feeds on energy. Every weapon, fired, every engine powered, makes it grow. We cannot stop it now. Something else is on the other side." Sarek struck the console with his clawed hand. "There is nothing stronger than us. Secure this planet before the humans realize what is happening." But the humans already knew. In a hidden lab in Nevada, a group of scientists stared at the data from satellites. A pattern had appeared inside the wormhole, like a shadow within the storm. It was massive, larger than the alien fleet, and moving slowly toward the opening. One of the scientists whispered the thought no one wanted to say, "That is not their ship. That is something else." On the battlefield, the fight turned desperate. Alien soldiers advanced with precision, their glowing rifles cutting through tanks and bunkers. But the humans adapted again. Guerrilla tactics spread quickly. Soldiers used the terrain, hiding in jungles and caves and ruined villages. Snipers picked off alien commanders. Rockets hit supply ships before they could unload. Civilians even fought, refusing to abandon their homes. One group of island fighters ambushed a squad of aliens at night, armed with nothing more than explosives. And old rifles, they struck from shadows. The aliens fired wildly into the trees, but the humans kept coming, wave after wave, until the last alien fell. The victory was small. The message was clear. Humanity would never stop resisting. And then came the shock. During one battle, an alien weapon overloaded. The blast tore open the ground, ripping a crater into the island. But from the heart of that crater, a strange light rose. It was the same color as the wormhole. The air shimmered, the ground shook, and a pulse rippled outward. Every human soldier nearby felt it like a pressure inside their heads, a whisper they could not understand. The aliens felt it too. Their armor flickered, their weapons hummed strangely. For a brief moment, both sides froze. Then the wormhole above roared, answering the pulse. Something inside was waking. Back on the flagship, Sarek's officers begged him to retreat, to regroup, but Sarek's pride would not allow it. The humans are weak, he snarled. We will crush them before anything else arrives. We are the masters of this galaxy, not prisoners of fear. Yet deep in his mind, even Sarek felt unease. The wormhole was not behaving like any technology his people had ever created. It seemed alive, angry, hungry, and the shape within it was getting closer. On Earth, broadcasts filled every screen. News anchors spoke with trembling voices, showing images of the battles. But instead of only fear, the world was changing. People were rising. Civilians volunteered for defense. Engineers rushed to build new weapons, using every scrap of alien technology captured. Hackers broke into alien signals, sending false commands to confuse their machines. Humanity was learning faster than anyone expected. And across the world, a thought began to grow. Maybe they weren't fighting just to survive. Maybe they were fighting for something greater, to prove to the stars that humanity was not prey, but a force to be feared. As night gave way to dawn, the wormhole blazed brighter than ever. Its roar echoed across the oceans, like the cry of some monstrous beast. Lightning struck the seas. The shadow inside pressed closer, and for the first time, even the bravest soldiers looked up and wondered if they were ready for what was coming. The aliens had torn open a doorway to Earth, but now even they were beginning to regret it. The dawn over the Pacific should have been peaceful, but the sky was torn apart. The wormhole burned above the ocean like a second sun, spreading strange colors across the horizon. Lightning cracked inside it, but not like Earth's lightning. This was sharper, darker, as if the universe itself was ripping apart. On the battlefield below, human and alien forces still clashed. Smoke rose from ruined islands. Alien transports hovered low, releasing more soldiers in black armor. Their rifles glowed with deadly blue fire, cutting through human defenses. But humanity did not break. They dug trenches, set traps, and fought back with every weapon they had. Missiles from naval ships screamed upward, striking alien transports. Fighter jets circled the skies, chasing the enemy even when outmatched. The aliens were stronger, yes, but humans were relentless. And then, in the middle of the battle, the wormhole screamed. A sound deeper than thunder rolled across the ocean, shaking the ground itself. Both human and alien soldiers froze for a moment, looking up. The wormhole widened suddenly, its color swirling faster, as if something massive was pressing against it from the other side. On the alien flagship, Admiral Sarok felt his blood run cold. His engineers reported impossible readings. "Something's forcing its way through," one shouted. "It is not us, Admiral. It is something else." Sarek slammed his fist against the console. "Impossible. The gate is ours. Nothing can." But before he could finish, the wormhole erupted. Out of the storm, a shadow emerged. It was not a ship. It was not anything the aliens had ever seen. Its body was hidden in the glow of the wormhole. But glimpses could be seen in towering limbs, endless wings, eyes like burning stars. The creature roared, and the sound shattered the air. On Earth, people watching through cameras and satellites could not believe it. Social media exploded with fear. Some called it a monster. Others said it was a god. Scientists whispered in shock, "This is not alien technology. This is alive." The alien fleet panicked. Smaller ships fired at the shape, their weapons flashing blue against the storm. but the blasts vanished like sparks in a hurricane. The creature did not even slow. With one sweep of its wing, it knocked 3 alien ships aside, sending them spinning into the sea. Admiral Sarek's pride turned to dread. "Close the gate," he shouted. "Shut it before more come through." But his engineers shook their heads. "We cannot, Admiral. The gate feeds itself now. It listens only to the thing inside." Down below, human soldiers stared in silence. They had expected war with aliens, not this. But the moment of shock passed quickly. If this monster was destroying the alien fleet, then perhaps it was there. "Chance? Keep firing on the invaders," the human commanders ordered. "Let the creature weaken them." And so the war grew stranger. Missiles struck alien ships already shaken by the monster's blows. Jets rained fire on transports still struggling to land. Human submarines launched torpedoes from below, crippling enemy vessels that had survived the storm. For the first time, the Valen fleet began to fall back, but the creature was not an ally. It cared nothing for humans or aliens. It was chaos given form, drawn by the energy of the wormhole. With every strike, the sky trembled and the tier grew wider, or shadows moved within it, shapes too massive and strange to understand. In a secret bunker, human scientists stared at their screens in horror. "It's not alone," one whispered. "There are more of them. It's a wormhole. It's not just a gate. It's an invitation." His arrogance had blinded him. Now his fleet was trapped between stubborn humans and an unstoppable force from another dimension. Rage filled him, but beneath it was fear. For the first time in his life, he wondered if the Valen Empire had made a mistake too large to fix. On Earth, people everywhere prayed, screamed, or watched in silence. The war that had begun as humans versus aliens was no longer simple. Something far worse had entered their world. And yet, in the middle of the chaos, hope grew. If the aliens could bleed, if their fleet could be broken, then maybe humanity had a chance to survive. The wormhole pulsed again, brighter, stronger. The creature inside let out another roar that echoed across continents. The war for Earth was no longer just a battle. It had become a storm and no one knew who or what would survive it. The sky above Earth was no longer the same. The wormhole had grown into a swirling storm of light and shadow, stretching wider and wider, as if the universe itself had been torn open. The creature that had forced its way through spread its vast wings over the ocean. Its body glimmered, with scales that shifted like metal, and its eyes burned like suns. Every sound of battle stopped when it roared again. The cry was so powerful it shook the oceans into towering waves. On islands below, humans and aliens alike fell to their knees, covering their ears, their weapons forgotten for a heartbeat. Then the fighting began againly. This time, it was not humans against aliens. The creature dove from the wormhole, striking at the alien fleet. Its claws tore through one of the largest warships like it was made of paper. The wreck fell in flames into the sea, explosions lighting the night. Alien soldiers screamed in panic, their voices lost in static as their ships broke apart. Admiral Sarek stood on his flagship, watching the destruction. His pride turned into burning fury. "This world is cursed," he snarled. "But the Valen Empire does not retreat. Fire everything." The alien fleet unleashed its full strength. Beams of blue energy cut across the sky. Missiles streaked upward in bright arcs, sea-boiled as weapons fired in every direction. The creature roared in pain as blasts struck its wings, tearing chunks from its glowing body. But the attacks did not kill it. They only made it angrier. Down below, human soldiers watched in awe. For the first time, they saw the alien fleet suffering heavy losses. Ships burned, fell, and shattered into the ocean. The humans pressed their advantage. Jets launched fresh missiles. Submarines fired torpedoes. On the islands, ground troops struck at alien transports now stranded without support. The battlefield had turned into chaos. But humanity refused to waste the chance. In secret bunkers far away, scientists studied the fragments of alien metal they had captured. They had worked without sleep, racing against time, and now something incredible happened. A new prototype weapon had been created, a hybrid of human engineering and alien technology. It was crude, unstable but powerful. Deploy it, the generals ordered. Now. Soon, on one of the islands, a human squad carried the strange weapon to the front. It looked like a cannon, but its core glowed with alien energy. When they fired it, a bolt of searing light shot out, brighter than the sun. It struck an alien walker, tearing the machine apart in one blast. Soldiers cheered. For the first time, humanity had a weapon that could match the invaders. But celebration was brief, because the wormhole was changing again. The creature in the sky gave a long, terrible cry and then turned its gaze downward. For the first time, its burning eyes fell on Earth itself. The air grew heavy, and every human and alien felt the weight of its attention. And then more shadows moved inside the wormhole, through the swirling light. More forms appeared, smaller than the first, but still enormous. They swam through the storm like predators in an ocean. Their shapes were strange, some like serpents of fire, others like winged beasts of metal and smoke. One by one, they began to force their way out. The humans froze. Even the aliens stopped firing. Everyone realized the same truth at once. This was no invasion anymore. This was the beginning of something much worse. Admiral Sarek shouted in rage. This cannot be. The gate was ours. We opened it, not them. His voice shook, not with power, but with fear. For the first time, the mighty Valen Admiral understood he was not the hunter. He was the prey. On Earth, human commanders faced a choice. Fight the aliens, fight the creatures, or somehow survive both. Some argued for retreat. Others whispered the unthinkable. Maybe we need to work with the aliens just long enough to close the gate. But trust was impossible. Had brought this disaster. The blood of thousands of humans was already on their hands. How could anyone ally with them? Still, the wormhole widened, and the creatures kept coming, as the sun rose over the Pacific. The battlefield looked like the end of the world. Alien ships burned in the sky. Human fighters darted between them, striking when they could. And above it all, the first creature spread its massive wings again, calling its kin forward. The aliens had torn open the gate to conquer Earth. Now, something far greater had stepped through, and it was not here to rule. It was here to feed. The Pacific battlefield was no longer a war zone. It was a graveyard. Alien ships burned as they fell from the sky, crashing into the waves. Human fighter jets streaked between the wreckage, some never returning. And above it all, the wormhole blazed like an open wound, spilling creatures into the world. The first beast spread its wings wide, circling the ocean like a god of destruction. Behind it, more shadows crawled through the swirling light serpents of fire. Beasts with endless claws, shapes that defied reason. Earth was no longer just fighting for freedom. It was fighting for survival against the unknown, in a bunker far from the battlefield, human leaders argued. We cannot fight both at once, one general said, slamming his fist on the table. The aliens are dying too. If they fall, we face those creatures alone. Others shook their heads. You cannot trust them. They brought this here. Their blood is on our hands, and ours is on theirs. An alliance would be suicide. But outside, the battle made the choice clearer every second. On one island, a squad of human soldiers fought side by side with a group of stranded alien warriors. It had happened by accident, both groups ambushed by a serpent-like creature that rose from the sea. The humans fired rockets. The aliens blasted it with glowing rifles. The monster shrieked, thrashing in the waves, before finally sinking into the deep. For a long moment, no one moved. The humans and aliens stared at each other, weapons raised. But then another roar echoed from the sky, and both sides lowered their guns. They did not speak the same language, but they understood. Had no choice. News of this spread quickly. Reports reached commanders on both sides. Humans and Valens had fought together, if only for minutes, and survived. On the alien flagship, Admiral Sarek raged at the thought. We are conquerors, not allies of insects. But even he could not ignore the truth. His fleet was breaking apart. His empire's pride meant nothing against the creatures pouring through the wormhole. If the Valens fell here, their empire would know they had lost to both man and monster. On Earth, human commanders faced the same decision. With the creatures growing in number, survival was slipping away. Finally, one leader spoke the words. None wanted to hear, "We don't have to trust them, we only have to use them. Together, maybe we can close the gate." The plan spread quickly, desperate and dangerous. On the islands, soldiers on both sides were given a new order. Fight the monsters first. If the aliens turned on them later, so be it, but right now, its greater enemy was the wormhole. And so for the first time, humanity and aliens fought side by side. It was chaos. Human tanks rolled across beaches, firing at winged beasts as they swooped low. Alien walkers marched beside them, their glowing rifles tearing into serpents that rose from the ocean. Human jets and alien interceptors shared the same skies, dodging each other's fire as they struck the monsters. The battlefield was filled with mistrust, but also with something strange: cooperation. In one battle, a human pilot's jet was clipped by a beast's claw, spiraling toward the sea. At the last moment, an alien ship caught it in a tractor beam, lowering it gently onto a beach. The pilot climbed out, staring in disbelief. The alien inside only gave a short nod before turning back to fire at the creatures. Even Admiral Serac, burning with pride, finally gave the order to focus on the monsters. His flagship unleashed its strongest weapon, a beam of searing light that struck one of the larger creatures full in the chest. The beast shrieked, crashing into the ocean. Waves rose higher than mountains, swallowing whole fleets, but victory was far away. For every monster that fell, two more clawed their way through the wormhole. The sky was filling with them. The storm of light spread across the horizon, and satellites warned that the tier in space was still growing. In a human lab, scientists worked desperately with alien prisoners, forced to share knowledge. The hybrid cannon had worked, but it was not enough. They needed something bigger, something that could strike the wormhole itself. And so the idea was born. Use the wormhole's hunger against it. Feed it all the energy they had: human nukes, alien reactors, everything in. Collapse it before more creatures could arrive. It was madness. It was dangerous. But it was the only chance. On the battlefield, the uneasy alliance bought precious time. Humans and aliens stood together in the ashes of broken islands, holding off wave after wave of creatures. The air stank of smoke and salt. The seas were filled with wreckage, but still they fought. As night fell again, the wormhole blazed brighter than ever. The shadow of something even larger moved within it, its size blotting out the stars. Both humans and aliens looked up in silence, their weapons useless against such scale. And in that moment, one truth bound them together. If the gate did not close, there would be no humans, no aliens, no world left to fight over. The night sky over the Pacific was no longer a sky. It was fire, lightning, and endless shadows. The wormhole stretched wide, swallowing the stars, its colors burning across the world. From it, the great creatures poured: winged beasts, serpents of fire, shapes so vast they blocked out the horizon. Earth trembled under their cries. But humanity did not stop fighting. On shattered islands, human soldiers and alien warriors stood side by side, their weapons glowing, their armor scorched. They no longer cared who was enemy and who was ally. Both knew the truth now: if the wormhole stayed open, there would be no survivors. In a hidden command bunker, scientists worked without rest. Human engineers and alien technicians, forced to cooperate, stood shoulder to shoulder over machines that sparked and smoked. They built something new, something no world had ever seen before, weapon born of desperation. It was called the Collapse device, made from alien reactor cores and human nuclear warheads. It was designed to overload the wormhole with energy until it folded in on itself. The plan was simple, but the risk was absolute. Whoever delivered the device would not return. When the generals explained this, the room fell silent. Then one soldier spoke. "If it saves Earth, I'll go." Others stepped forward, human and alien alike.
At
Even Admiral Sarok, proud and furious, lowered his head. He knew his empire's pride had caused this, and he knew the cost of fixing it. But in the end, the choice fell to humans. It was their world.
Ow.
Their fight. The collapsed device was loaded onto a bomber, a massive human aircraft modified with alien shields. Pilots strapped in, silent and pale, their faces lit by the glow of the device. Outside, soldiers human and alien watched the plane prepare for takeoff. No one cheered. No one spoke. They only saluted. The bomber rose into the night, engines roaring. They knew what was coming. The bomber climbed higher, weaving through fire and wreckage. Alien ships cleared a path, sacrificing themselves against the monsters. Human fighters followed close, shooting at anything that threatened the mission. The sky was chaos, but the bomber kept moving forward. Inside, the pilots exchanged no words. They only flew, steady and determined as the collapsed device ticked down toward activation below. Soldiers fought on broken beaches buying time, human. Tanks fired beside alien walkers. Jets from both sides streaked overhead, flames trailing. The sea boiled with burning wrecks. For the first time, humans and aliens were not enemies. They were comrades in survival. The bomber broke through the clouds, the wormhole looming ahead. It was a wound in the universe, wide and endless, its light blinding. The shadow of something massive moved within, larger than mountains, older than stars. The pilots saw it and felt fear, but they did not turn away. Almost there, one whispered. The creature sensed the danger. A winged beast dove toward the bomber, its claws glowing like molten fire. Human fighters intercepted, ramming it head-on. The explosion lit the sky. The bomber slipped past. Another monster rose from the wormhole itself, its mouth opening wide enough to swallow the plane whole. Alien interceptors fired, distracting it for only seconds, but seconds were enough. The bomber pushed forward, closer, closer. The collapsed device began to glow, brighter than the sun. On the ground, soldiers stopped fighting for a moment and looked up. The entire world seemed to hold its breath. Inside the bomber, the pilots made their final choice. One pulled the lever, releasing the device into the heart of the wormhole. For a second, nothing happened. Then the world exploded with light. The collapsed device detonated, its power feeding directly into the wormhole. The storm of colors twisted, violently collapsing in on itself. The creatures screamed, their bodies tearing apart as they were dragged back inside. The sky bent, the oceans roared, the earth shook as if the planet itself was breaking. And then silence. The wormhole was gone. The creatures were gone. It's only smoke and fire remained, drifting across the night. The bomber never returned. On the ground, humans and aliens stood in stunned silence. For the first time, there was no roar, no storm, no enemy in the sky. Only the sound of waves crashing against ruined shores. Humanity had survived, but at a terrible cost. Admiral Sarek, wounded and defeated, looked upon the humans with something he had never felt before: respect. His fleet was shattered, his pride broken. He knew the war was lost. He gave the order to retreat, his voice quiet, almost ashamed. The surviving humans watched the aliens leave. Some wanted to fire, to take revenge, but others shook their heads. The real enemy had already been faced, and won. Across Earth, people stepped out of shelters, looking up at the night sky. For the first time since the war began, it was clear. The stars shone calmly, as they had before. But humanity was not the same. They had faced an empire. They had faced monsters from beyond reality. They had survived. The aliens had torn open a wormhole to Earth, and in the end, they'd regretted it more than anyone. But deep in the silence, it would not fade. The story was not over.